welcome to Reminiscing with History Makers for APCO. If you could, introduce yourself and let us know when you joined APCO.
Hello, my name is Mark Buchholz. I joined APCO in 1989.
During your time at APCO, can you tell us what agencies you worked for, the positions you held, some of the responsibilities of those positions, and the length of your service?
Sure. So in 1988, actually, I began my career in public safety, and the agency I started with at the time was called Clark Regional Communications Agency, and it was in Vancouver, based in Vancouver, Washington, serving Clark County, Washington. And I say at the time because they've renamed the agency, gone through some changes over the years, and it's now called CRESA, Clark Regional Emergency Communications Agency, but same thing. Let's see, I spent 10 years in their positions. I started my career actually on the technical services side and held the position of technical services manager, which had to do with all of the IT to begin with. And then I supported not only the 911 Center, but Vancouver Police and Clark County Sheriff's Office as far as their technologies, their record systems, jail systems, and the 911 system. And my early purpose was to support the technology and implement the very first computer-aided dispatch system for the Clark County 911 Center there. And moved on to after 10 years there, I took an opportunity to become the director of the Willamette Valley 911 Center, Willamette Valley Communications Center in Salem, Oregon. I spent 23 years with Willamette Valley, and then most recently, after that 23 years, I took I had the opportunity to become the executive director for the Washington County Consolidated Communications Agency 4.5 years ago, and that is basically the Washington County 911 Center that is just west of Portland, Oregon. So yeah, that's been a sum total of 37-ish years.
Thanks. Can you describe what drew you to join APCO? And was there a particular person or event influential in getting you to join?
Oh yeah, so my original job joining then I'll call it Clark County, the agencies involved, back in 88 is when I joined actually, and the first significant job was implementation of a new records management system and the first time implementation of a computer-aided dispatch system. And one of the recommendations was, and I can't really remember who recommended, but the recommendation was, get involved in APCO. There's a lot of people. We have customers that are members of APCO of this particular CAD product, and I didn't know anything about CAD. I didn't know anything about much of anything since I was new to public safety. And so that was the catalyst, or I can't remember a specific person that told me, hey, here's where you want to go, but they told me, APCO is around and covers all these items, and I joined to learn more about, what are CAD systems, what do they do, how do they work, and other aspects of the communications business and actually public safety in general, police and fire. So it was a learning. So I would say the CAD system is the answer to that question rather than a person. That was the driving force.
Thanks. Can you describe some of your APCO activities at the state chapter or national level during your tenure at APCO? And what was your favorite?
Let's see. Starting with the state level, the Oregon chapter, I actually started, back it up, with Clark County. I started with the Washington chapter of APCO. And involvement in the early days was really just learning, going to the state meetings and hearing, what are the issues people are talking about, what's going on, what are things that are related to 911 in the state of Washington, things about 911 tax. had a lot to learn. And so my roles early on was just learning from everybody that was attending, learning how things worked, how decisions were made, all that kind of stuff. I'd say most of it in my first 10 years, not a lot of engagement at the state level. Now, I switched jobs when I went to Willamette Valley in Oregon, and I joined the Oregon chapter of APCO. And from there, had a little more of a background. So continued to learn, but then began to get engaged with things like, I ran through the chair responsibilities. So second vice president, chapter president, was engaged then in, there were some, I want to say Oregon APCO's 2000 Western Regional Conference. So I served the conference committee for Oregon in the finance chair position. Subsequent years, 2012, and most recently 2025, I've served as the finance chair or finance co-chair for all of those Western Regional Conferences. Again, held the position through the president of the chapter and coordinating everything to do with the chapter business. Early on, I was at the state level, not early on, just up until recently. And you asked at the national level, I was involved in a few different committees over the years, and actually was one of the charter members for Project Retains. The question you asked, what was most memorable, I think, or most impacting, I think, for me, was the participation on the Project Retains committee, looking at staffing issues, doing research and making recommendations about, what a communication center should be looking at to determine the methodologies to determine how many people do you really need, different kinds of, volume-based staffing versus fixed-based staffing, those kinds of things. And the first Project Retains result and a system that you could log in and enter all the data and figure out, give you a recommendation of what staffing levels you need. That was probably the most exciting, I think.
It's a great project.
Well, while you pause for a second, I do want to add, in addition to at the state chapter for Oregon, serving as the second vice president, president of the Oregon chapter, I went on to serve as the executive council member. So at the national level is when my first real activities at the national level was representing Oregon on the executive council in the early days before the structure had changed as to the roles of the now the board versus the executive committee and the executive council back when I was serving in mid-2000s, I guess, 2000 something. Anyway, just wanted to add that part. Go ahead with your question.
Has your APCO membership had a direct effect on your career in public safety communications?
Oh, I'd say absolutely. Yes. My APCO membership has had a direct effect in many ways, in ideas, in education about different aspects of the public safety environment, and most importantly in the aspect of contact, getting to meet people, coming to the national conference, meeting people from all over the United States, similar communication centers, very far away that I would normally not likely have any contact with, and I learned and develop relationships with directors or managers, personnel in general that work for other centers, and how they did things, why they did things, the way they did them, definitely had an impact on my career. Many ideas, many direction were established by what I had learned at APCO. So yeah, very appreciative of that.
What do you like most about APCO?
Well, I would probably say what I like most is the annual coming together to see people, to get together and talk, have dinner, talk about what's going on in their center, what kind of issues are they faced with. I do like the sessions. I like the committees and the work group, but most of all, drawing together all the people of the same mission, learning how everyone's doing what they're doing. I'd say that's what I like the most.
What does APCO do better than anyone else?
Well, I'd say probably the two things I see them as better is both the coverage of all of the issues involved in public safety communications, from the radio system to the telephone system to the training programs, to the new technologies like keeping up on the newest being AI. Last year, the previous years, the big thing was cybersecurity, and the breadth of what's going on in a communication center. I think they do that the best. There's others that do specific parts, even more detailed. They may even do them better, but in general, I feel APCO is the best choice for me. So when I look at the choices of spending dollars for travel, my first and foremost choice is to spend it to attend the APCO National Conference.
With the advent of NG 911, what does APCO need to do to stay current with emerging technologies?
Well, I don't know that, as I think about that question, I'm not positive that the advent of Next Gen 911 is necessarily tied with the second part of the question, because you constantly have emergent technologies. You have the emergence, which is really not a technology, but I guess that we're in, like I talked about a minute ago, cybersecurity, the issues that we didn't used to face those. 10 years ago, that wasn't a thought. We didn't worry about it. Yeah, you got to have a password, but no, you didn't worry that you were going to get hacked. You didn't worry about you'd be exposed to ransomware or all those kinds of things. And now that's an issue, not related to Next Gen 911. It's just technology advancement. I mentioned AI. Here's something that's happening in the world. It's impacting the communication centers. It becomes a necessity that APCO has to get engaged in that change in technology, the awareness, what are the concerns, what are the benefits. I see all of those things. Again, Next Gen's one more item, and it's been around. It's presented itself for a while. It's probably taken the longest I've ever seen any technology get implemented nationwide. So definitely APCO's involvement in pressing for more support, more, at the federal level, more money to help make it happen, and a realization nationwide. But I separate the technology, if you follow what I'm saying. Technology is advancing in all aspects. And it's good that APCO keeps present and keeps current on what's going on and what impacts the 911 centers.
What stands out as a significant contribution of your own during your time with APCO?
Well, I go back to the thing I think I enjoyed the most was the deep dive working on Project Retains. That's probably the single item I take that stands out the most as far as my contribution. Other than that, I don't know what else I'd pick for a close second. I definitely enjoyed that time.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for your time and thank you for your contributions.